All right, according to this, Banfield's not even on again, which doesn't make sense to me because they're showing her now. But when I go to the schedule, it's showing Cuomo and not Banfield. So I'm a little disappointed. So I'm not sure what's going on. But let me say hi to everyone. What's up, everyone? Hello again. Hello again. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. And sorry I was a little bitchy before. I'm aggravated with all the bullshit that's flying. And it just annoys me of how many people buy into so much nonsense, and it's aggravating. From a creator perspective, it's aggravating. No, I know it's showing it's on at 9, but it usually shows that she's on again at 1, and it's not showing that. It's showing just the News Nation. The schedule is showing News Nation Prime at 12 and then Cuomo at 1. So she must be the News Nation Prime, or they just have a screwed up schedule. I don't know. Like tomorrow it's showing she's on. I don't know. It's weird. For some reason, it's not showing she's on tonight. Jewish Jesus is on at 6:30 a.m. News Nation is a Catholic channel. They have Catholic Mass at 8 a.m. I had no idea. Worship anew at 5:30 in the morning. In Search of the Lord's Way at 7 a.m. I had no idea they were a Catholic channel. Interesting. See, you learn something new every day. What's up, all? I do, Kaz. It's frustrating. Shut up, Fluffer. It is. It's frustrating. Come here. And it doesn't even matter what the channel is. Even some of the experts are making me want to drink. Stop! Come here. I know. He's annoying as hell, Buka. You watch that every morning? I bet you do. No, but seriously, I had no idea they were a Catholic channel. All right. So I don't know who's coming on after Banfield. Who usually comes on after Banfield? All right, so Cuomo comes on after Banfield. Yeah, she's usually on at 1 a.m. It's showing me Cuomo. Maybe because of the special that's on. So we'll wait and see what happens after Banfield right now. We only have a couple of minutes. But let me just start with, I was watching these experts on Tyler Feller's live. And he was asking this legendary detective, and you can see in my description the history of this guy. This guy is legit an expert. This guy has way more knowledge about the criminal justice system than I do. This guy has way more intelligence about the way things work than I do. This guy has way more education than I do about criminal justice, and he's got real life experience. So please fucking tell me how this legendary expert doesn't know that that Daily Mail comment was fake. Please explain this to me. I'm not a rocket scientist. How did I know instantly that it was fake? And this expert that has 30 years of incredible history doesn't know it was fake and actually answered. I would love to know that answer. And that's the other reason I get aggravated, because people look at these experts as experts. And I feel like half of them are dumber than rocks. I should not be able to look at something that's that's so obviously fake and call it out as being fake. And this major expert can't do that. Now let's move over to, and I'll go back to that, but let's move over to another expert he had on, a doctor, Dr. Lisa something. I'm going to play her little interview. I couldn't disagree with her more. And I would speak to her. Maybe this is why I don't have these people on my panel, because I would literally fight with them about how they're wrong. We have not heard anything from Brian. Brian has not done an interview. Brian has not spoken. Brian, we have not even heard his voice. We know nothing about him. We can draw some conclusions from what we hear, but again, it's hearsay. These so-called experts are already saying what he is and what he's not. Okay? You don't know that. You've never heard from him. You've never heard him speak. You know nothing about him. And you couldn't be more wrong if you tried. No, I haven't written him yet. I will, though. This one, as soon as we find out what's on News Nation, I'll play the clip. I have it already set up so I can play it after. I just don't want to miss. Someone said Cuomo was really good tonight, so I want to see if he's on. And I just cannot comprehend how these people got it so wrong. Talking about his motive. See? And I bet there's 3,000 people in their coffee. If I'm going to guess, I'm going to say there's a couple thousand people. We know he drives a white Hyundai. That we know. But one of the things that this chick was saying, which I really feel she's way wrong, is that she doesn't believe he's a narcissist. She believes he's something else. For the simple reason that he's not the type that wants to get caught. I mean, that wants to get caught or something. Okay, really? Because he's scared enough that he made his father drive to come drive him. That shows me he thinks he's going to get caught and doesn't want to get caught. That doesn't tell me that somebody who's doesn't think they're going to get caught. Somebody that doesn't think they're going to get caught is not going to have their father fly in to drive back. He was scared of getting caught. Why he didn't ditch the car? What are you going to tell your parents? What are you going to tell your parents that that you ditched your car? He had family to think of. He had to think this through. Drove his own car, brought his cell phone with big Bluetooth on. How do you know that, D-Life? How do you know he drove his own car and brought his cell phone? We don't know they have cell phone pings. We have no idea. I love when people come to me with quote unquote facts that are not facts. We have no idea if he drove his own car. We have no idea if he had a cell phone. We have no idea if they got Bluetooth. The cops have said nothing. Do we know if this trip was planned, though? Nope. We know nothing. Nothing. We don't know if the trip was planned in the fall, unless his father said something and I missed it, which is possible. Well, I want. All right. We don't know if the trip is planned. We have no idea. And even if it was true, we don't know if it was true. Like, even if his father said it now, doesn't make it true. The only way to prove that is if someone showed copy of the plane tickets Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily make it true, Nicole. That's my point. Oh, I had no idea it wasn't Jack D. I knew it wasn't Jack D. Stated that many of times, D Life. I said it wasn't Jack D. It wasn't Jack S. Stated that many of times. Please tell me how he's even anywhere near BTK. It's through my head. No, it's not that he's near BTK. What they're saying, though, is that he could be in touch with BTK. That's what they're saying about BTK. That he may have gotten pointers or tips from BTK, something. That's true, Twin Cities. Most of us here never thought it was either of the Jacks. But was it a fantasy, Edward? That's the question. Was it a fantasy? All right, Cuomo's on. Let's check it out. We'll see how it is. Someone said it was really good.
Thank you for giving me the chance, starting it with me and the team. We appreciate it. We're live tonight, of course. We're also in depth. We have to go beyond the headlines, the big news about the arrest of the man that police say killed the Idaho students. There are new details to develop and to debunk. It's important to know what not to trust on this story, and we have that. We also have a great interview with a former friend of the suspect who may be able to help us, or absolutely can help us, develop an understanding of who he was before this and what we can look at as an indication of character. I also want to take time to celebrate Barbara Walters. Boy, she would have been very upset with the timing of her passing. Right before a holiday, oh, she would have always wanted to hold a big...
Damn right I would defend my kid. I would defend him until he was proven guilty. You can't say he's guilty yet. Brian is not guilty yet. Brian is still innocent. And that's the one thing I will say about the cop. I mean, the former detective that was on Tyler, and he said exactly what I said. A former cop is going to say alleged. And the one that goes on T Live that I'm sorry, I am calling out as being fake. I don't believe the guy is a former detective. The guy already has, what's his name? Brian hung out to dry, guilty as fuck. No, sorry. That's not a former detective. That's just not how former detectives are. They always say allegedly. But I would absolutely protect my kid. And I would lie for my kid. And I would say, yeah, this was pre-planned, even if it wasn't. And if my kid told me he didn't do it, I would believe them. Swendega, they're not a detective. I don't care what anybody says. That is not a detective. I listened to him yesterday, and I was like, nah, this guy's fake as fuck. All right.
In the jail, we have good sources there, News Nation, and they tell us not true, that the person who's given that information must be confused or just flat out wrong. So you got to be careful. The TikTok post from one user who said she knew him in middle school and high school, Casey Arntz, that's legit. It got attention, and rightly so. Casey joins us now live from Virginia. Casey, Happy New Year. Thank you for deciding to talk to us and doing some reporting for us of your own with people from his past.
Of course, I'm glad to be here.
So as you scrub your memories and talk to other people, what now sticks out to you that you think is of the most relevance as perspective for people to know about this person?
Personally, what I'm finding out from former friends and former classmates is that, Brian was bullied when he was younger. He was an overweight kid. When I personally knew him, he was always good to me. Now, over the years, that has changed. I know going into his senior year, he lost a lot of weight. It was Then I hear that he might have become the bully. I was not there personally to see that. However, looking back at it, knowing how he knows my brother, knowing now how he knows my other friends, I wouldn't put it past him, because my brother has come out and said that he was bullying him when he was friends with him. I don't know if that's a lot on his
Now,
character. Yeah. Mhm.
Well, it's just insight into what this guy is about at a formative time in his life, which of course is high school, and he's only 28, so it's not like, he's my age or something. So this is a formative time. Also, for sure that he had addiction issues, and profound ones. We're not talking about vaping, that's bad enough, but this was a heroin addict. He says he went to rehab, and you had experience with him using you to try to get drugs, right?
Yes, he did use me, and I didn't know at the time that he was using me to drive him to get heroin until probably a couple of days afterwards. It triggered me in a way, because I didn't know that I could have been put in such a compromising position from him. But yeah, he definitely struggled with heroin addiction in high school.
One of the reasons that addicts are sometimes pejoratively referred to as fiends is because they can be very devious in finding ways to get drugs. That's what you experienced. But sometimes it's not just the addiction.
Let me just say, you put me on News Nation, I am going to be dressed to the hill. I don't understand how these people go on national TV that's going to have millions of viewers and they're wearing a sweatshirt. I don't get it.
It is character. And you're saying through your brother and others, the idea that he would want to trick somebody, that he would want to play a game on somebody and have them believe things, or that he could get away with convincing people of things, was part of who this guy was.
Yes. And from my experience, I never saw it firsthand, but my brother definitely has. Apparently he was belittling my brother. He was making him, just seem kind of stupid and slower. And Brian always had to be the smartest person in the room when he was with my brother. It was like he was undermining him and just putting him down. And my brother cut ties with him because of this, because it got too much of a torment for him.
Now, look,
and that's narcissism. That's how narcissists are. Like a true narcissist, that's how they are. That's why these experts saying, oh, he was a narcissist. From everything we've heard, yes, he was.
We got to let the process play out. But it is already, I can tell you, with well over 20 years experience, very unusual that somebody who did nothing wrong says nothing. Now, people can say, well, that's the right way to play the system, and he is a criminologist, and that's what. But most people don't. If they get caught for something that they didn't do, they talk about that. And all the reporting we have is that he says almost nothing. He's spending most of his time in jail, News Nation has learned, sleeping. He's not protesting his innocence, that he asked a single question of, has anybody else been arrested? How does that square?
Okay, let me just say something from from a perspective. The reason why he's not saying anything, because he studies criminology. He knows the system. Say nothing. Nothing. Say nothing and don't worry about it. Plain and simple. I don't know why he's saying it's so odd. He's not in Idaho yet. He's in Pennsylvania. He's not going to say jack shit in Pennsylvania. This has nothing to do with Pennsylvania's system. It's so stupid.
With the person you knew in terms of acting normal in situations?
Honestly, in my opinion, and after talking with my brother for the past couple of days, it seems almost like he's trying to throw off law enforcement. He's not talking because he knows how to work it. He knows the ins and outs of this. This is what he studied for years. So to me, I don't think it's surprising that he's not talking, because he thinks he knows what he's doing, and he's trying to undermine law enforcement in that aspect of it.
It didn't work that well. He got caught. It's interesting that hasn't even changed his disposition, or maybe he's trying to figure it out. We'll know soon enough, because the more process.
But he's in a Pennsylvania jail cell. Sitting in Pennsylvania has nothing to do with Idaho. Like, why would he speak to Pennsylvania POs? They can't do anything. It has nothing to do with Pennsylvania.
There is, he'll have opportunities to say something. Now, you showed me a text thread, which I really appreciate. It was Facebook. You explained to me how Facebook Messenger, those messages last a long time, and lucky for you because you were able to recall them. And there was one exchange in particular where he was very thankful to you after that little caper where he tricked you into, you know, helping him fiend and find some drugs, that you invited him to your birthday party. And he was grateful. And he said something in the exchange that has stuck with you. Do you remember the exchange where he talked about, hey,
I would like her to teach me how to get Facebook post Messenger from 2013, because I am not able to. So I would like to know how she's able to get Messenger from 2013. And if anyone else can do it, let me know.
Thanks, even if in the future, you know, something like that. Do you remember the exchange?
Yeah, so it was after everything was said and done. I had invited him to my 21st birthday party back in 2014. And he said, I love you guys, meeting our friend group. And I will always love you guys, even if we stop talking. At the time, very endearing. Looking back on it now, it's pretty creepy, pretty eerie. But
at the time, what do you think he was referring to? Was he just, do you think, just being down on himself because of the drugs and the deception? And
I'm sure he was. And that is something, that's a huge hurdle to get over. So I feel like he definitely did feel thankful that he had friends that he could rely on, even after all of that he went through and continued to go through.
Did he have friends? I mean, often
Super chat. Wait, I just got a super chat. Hold on, wait. Somebody just hit me with a super chat. Who was that? You didn't have to do that.
These types of people will wind up being written off as loners, you know, and that they were always by themselves. And was that your experience here?
For me, I mean, I was just in his small friend group. I never really saw him hang out with anyone else, but it's coming out now that he did have a couple more friends, which in my opinion is nice to know. But I've never really seen him with other people other than our friend group.
Now, his family's obviously going to come under scrutiny, and there's been a lot of stuff thrown into the wind about his different family members and stuff, which I haven't found any of it to be really credible to this point. But we do know from fairly solid reporting that his father may have flown out to Idaho to get him and drive back with him or whatever. What did you know about the parents?
His mom was actually a substitute teacher at Pleasant Valley. She was a lovely lady, and I stand true to that to this day. She was wonderful. I still distinctly remember the things she wore, what her hair looked like. She remembered me years later. So she was an absolutely amazing woman, and I stand true to that to this day. I didn't get a chance to meet his father. My brother definitely did, and he said that his dad was a fantastic storyteller. They'd be over his parents' house, and his dad would just be sitting there, and they'd sit there for like hours on end listening to him tell stories because he was that good of a storyteller. So his parents, again, I can speak on his mom. My brother can speak on both of them. We're great.
Super chat. Wait, I just got a super chat. Hold on, wait. Somebody just hit me with a super chat. Who was that? You didn't have to do that. You's a big dog supporter and you prove that. There's plenty other ways to help. Subscribe through chat, but you's a boss and I conclude that.
We are in Pennsylvania, where you're from. It's not like it's Philadelphia. It's a fairly small community. You know people by reputation, if not directly. Was there anything unusual about the family, about him or his sister or his parents? Was there anything about them that you remember?
Not unusual, no. I never actually met his sister, but they were just a standard family in the Poconos. We had a lot of people coming in from New York, and just it was just, we were used to all these people, but they never stood out as anyone bad or good or crazy. They were just another family.
And aside,
she is right, though, because a lot of people from Long Island or Queens would go to the Poconos like for vacation. So she is right about a lot of people coming from New York.
from accounts of bullying and, jerky behavior, you never knew him and, anything drug related, but even drug related, you never heard of him getting arrested or being in trouble with police or being accused of anything that was violent.
No, never. Violence, not in regard to like getting arrested or anything. I heard he would get physically aggressive with people. He would get aggressive very quickly. I never saw it face to face, thankfully. But again, going back to one of the things my brother said, when he would get kind of physically aggressive with him, he would put him in headlocks and stuff like that. I never saw that. And if I did, I probably would have.
Okay, most boys put their friends in headlocks when they're fighting. So I just want to know, why isn't her brother talking? Why is she the one talking for her brother?
Broken up and said something. So.
Well, obviously, plenty has happened since the young man you grew up with. And it's really important for us to understand who he was as we try to build a picture of who he potentially became. So, Casey, thank you so much. I know this is freaky. I know that it's weird to know somebody like this. And I know that not everybody has been kind to you, even though you've just been trying to help. So I appreciate you doing that. And remember, just focus on the good people, not the jealous people. Thank you for being with us. And I'm always a call away.
Thank you. Have a good day.
All right. So, look, this is where this started, and it's fundamental, and especially to experts, it's fundamental. And now we start to fill in with details. Why would a father fly from Pennsylvania to Washington State to get their 28-year-old kid and then drive 3,000 miles back? Is it completely unheard of? No, but there's some weird things that happened, especially given the vehicle they were in is the one that everyone was looking for. And guess what? The police encountered them. Not once, but twice. Details next.
Yeah. I'm always a call away. Exactly. Give me that number. I'll call him. Swendega, you couldn't pay me to listen to Olivia. Her voice is like listening to Betty. Next, her and Betty are gonna find the knife. Her brother did, yeah. Not gonna happen. She's brave enough to be in the spotlight? I don't know. But I get why he had her on. But everything that we're hearing about him, that was catty. No, it's real. There's a difference between realistic and catty. That's not catty. That's realistic. The knife was next to the water bottle. She's in Washington now. Oh, they left Idaho? Yeah. BNO? Who's BNO? And Bad Wolf, you had that wrong before. It was Laundry's mom that offered the shovel. Exit screaming, they're not. She's like a Betty follower. I mean, you can like her all you want. I can't stand either one of them. Why wouldn't he help his son drive across the country? It gives them father and son time. I agree with that too. I mean, it is a long drive. Yeah, but D-Life, I'm sure he doesn't know. Oh, Jerry, I see that a lot, though. There's another creator, I'm not going to mention names, who posts stuff like days after it happens. Where are all those goof call out channels? They're too busy worrying about, you know, somebody else. NGL. I was like, what is NGL? I just realized it was not going to lie. Thank you, child. I got to update the website. I heard there are a lot of serial killers that live in Alabama. Maybe. We have the death penalty, though. I wouldn't want to be a serial killer here. By the way, he's not a serial killer. He's not even a mass murderer. He doesn't fall under either one of those categories. Hey, I had friends fly to Vegas to come drive with me back to New York. Oh, I would drive that alone. I've driven 24 hours. It's not that big of a deal. You just stop. But I'm crazy, though. I mean, I could drive 16 hours in one shot, not even stop. But I'm a driver. I'm not like others. I know a lot of people hate to drive. I don't mind. I might go out 4 hours. That's nothing. Let's go. When it starts to get over 15 hours, it's a little rough. BHP, Olivia in Washington, Idaho. They're only like 10 miles. Yeah. I can go to message in 2003. Can you? I have to think about it. I just don't know who I spoke to back then.
New details on the accused, Brian Koberger, accused of the murder of the 4 students at Idaho University, which may implicate his father. There's reporting that the father flew from Pennsylvania to Washington State, then drove with his 28-year-old son. Remember, this isn't a college kid. He's in PhD land. 2,500 plus miles back from Seattle to Pennsylvania. Guess what they drove in? The white Hyundai Elantra that all of you in this entire country has been on the lookout for, and they were pulled over twice during that trip in Indiana. What is that? How did that happen, first of all? And let's discuss what picture is emerging, okay? Forensic psychologist Chris Mahandi, genetic genealogist CeCe Moore, trial attorney Mark Garrigus, who, remember, he's been representing high-profile people for decades, but Scott Peterson was a big standout case for Garrigus and for the country, and he's also the host of the Reasonable Doubt podcast, very strong. Happy New Year, and thank to each and all of you. I appreciate your assistance. A past of hard drug abuse, bullied, then bullied. Like to play mind games, silent in custody, sleeping most of the time in custody. His father flying out to drive the 3,000 miles back with his 28-year-old son in the car that the whole country was looking for, stopped by cops twice in Indiana, the car not flagged. Now, all of that until the cop activity, Mahandi, what does that mean to you?
Well, I think this is a bright guy. He's organized. He's purposeful, highly intelligent, and, it's a lot of goal-directed behavior. I'm curious about the police stopping him twice. I'm wondering if that was a pretense or actually, they stopped him and didn't know. Sometimes these things can be orchestrated as part of an investigation, and we know they were watching him. But I see a guy here that knows what he's doing. He's probably not going to qualify for any kind of mental defense if indeed he's the person that is responsible for these things. And it goes along with a personality that, he's being purposeful. He's got a reason for doing what he's doing.
One follow-up, Chris. It's one thing to have the argument of an innocent person wouldn't falsely confess. We all know about custodial interrogation. We know how those tactics tend to break down an honest person without, exposure to the system faster than they would someone who knows the game that the police can play in interrogation. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about somebody who, if they had nothing to do with this quadruple homicide, has said nothing about.
Let me just say, coming off of meth, you will sleep for days. Meth would cause him to do this kind of homicide in a rage. if he's high enough and coming off of meth, if he just came off of it, he would sleep for about a week straight. So I do think he may have been on meth. I really do.
About it to authorities. How unusual to you is that he's sleeping most of the time in jail and there's no account other than his silence?
Oh, I think it's somewhat unusual. It's not entirely unheard of, but you know, he's studied this stuff, and if indeed he's our person, you know, he's studied it and knows his best approach is to keep his mouth shut and basically, you know, work on resting and kind of getting himself, you know, into this game, if you will, because I do believe he sees this as a game. I think he's seen it as a game as he was sitting in the classroom of that, you know, purported expert on killing. You know, thinking.
Swan, we have no idea if he's medicated on anything right now. We don't have a clue. Yes, meth will make you sleep for days. If you go from constantly doing it for, let's say, 3 years, and you come off of it, you're gonna sleep for days. Everyone I know that's ever come off of meth had to sleep for days.
That he's pulling one over on her, asking questions, and there he is in the midst of the so-called expert. And to him, I think he was, you know, getting a laugh at that, if indeed he's the person. But, you know, he's being thoughtful and he's being mindful, and he's being purposeful. So I think it is unheard of, but I think it's also him. It's not entirely unheard of, but it's him being, you know, focused on what his, you know, next play is going to be.
Cocaine will make you sleep if you've stayed up, but the actual coming off of cocaine won't make you sleep. Coming off of the garbage that's in meth will make you sleep for days. It just does. You're like so overly tired. Again, it also depends how long you're on it.
Counselor Garrigus, you got another side on that?
Yeah, I do have another side. I always shy away from the kind of off the court psychoanalyzing until we know more. I mean, I could put together a story where the father had pre-planned this and he wanted to spend time with his son driving back. And why wouldn't they do that? Just because he's 28, does that mean you abandon your kid at that point? Having a son around that age, I can relate to wanting to take a long drive with him and talking to him. That's number one. Number two, you know, there's lawyers that are both representing him, public defenders in Pennsylvania and in Idaho. Both have said and have either talked to him or advised him, and they haven't said what they've said, but by implication that he believes he's going to be exonerated. We haven't even seen a probable cause affidavit yet, and the sheriff is out there screaming or yelling that it's 100% certain. It must be, there's no other person, it has to be him. That's great, but I would just caution a little bit of hesitation until we see what this probable cause affidavit looks like. If they did discover unexplained or unidentified DNA at the scene and then tracked it down through the genealogical database, I understand that as well. That's been effective in recent cases in California. So I still would say let's wait and see and caution a little bit of
absolutely.
Presumption of, or embrace the presumption of innocence.
Absolutely, with both of my huge python arms.
Thank you, Garagos. Thank you. Finally, an expert that knows what the fuck he's talking about.
And I'm going to bounce the genealogy stuff to Cece in a second. But Counselor Garrigus, this is all I'm saying. We only know what they show in terms of meeting probable cause and then beyond a reasonable doubt. I will say that these people involved, including teams of FBI, were nuts to arrest this guy if they didn't have a lot more than just him being in a white Elantra. But Mark Garrigus, you get arrested by guys knocking on your door at 2 o'clock in the morning and they say, we got you for a quadruple homicide. As savvy as you are, you don't think that you say anything to authorities about how you got the wrong house and the wrong guy, and that when you're sitting in custody, you're not making it plain to people that this is not you. You think that you would say nothing the entire time?
I look, will tell you that 99 times out of 100, maybe 999 times out of 1,000, I will tell a client to just shut the F up, because you just do not, you're not going to help yourself. You're not going to get there. There's going to be something that is going to be used against you or misplayed against you. And it's a very rare situation. Now, I've done it. I have advised. I've actually had clients go into a grand jury and testify, which is, most people would say you're clinically nuts to do it, but it's been effective sometimes, but not until he gets. I get it. He's waiving extradition. He wants to get there.
Right.
He presumably wants to exonerate himself.
Right. I'm with you. I'm just saying, I get that he is playing the game the way you're supposed to play it. I'm just saying that it is unusual for somebody to be that cool under this kind of pressure. Now, to why authorities may be confident, and let's go not to the substance of what they have, but the techniques they may have used to create that confidence. That's CeCe Moore. We got a great guest. She understands and helped pioneer a lot of the technologies that may have been used. Let's take a break, and we'll come back with somebody who literally created some of the tools that investigators would have to use to get to the right conclusion here. We'll be right back.
Yeah, I'm actually leaning to the fact that he may have been on meth, because that would explain his rage. While if he's in a meth rage, very easy for him to kill 4 people at once in such a brutal way that they did it. They said that he was always on edge. People that knew him talked about how he always had to be right. These are all signs of a meth addict. He lost a lot of weight. I really believe that he was on meth. And I really believe that he was on meth when all of this went down. And I believe right now he's sleeping meth off. That's why he's sleeping all the time. By K-Rox, that's why he's sleeping all the time. But he could, we don't know anything about him. He could be like crazy. He could think that the girls were out to get him. He could think that something was out to get him. And yeah, he could have planned it out, even if it was meth rage. Tara, there are so many people that are on meth that you would never know it. A lot of college students use meth to stay awake. A lot of college students use meth or a form of meth to study. I mean, there's a lot of people. You get drug tested as soon as you go into jail. So that'll be released too. But I think he was on meth. Yeah, people say he used to do heroin. Heroin's a serious. I've been a heavy drug addict. I've never got addicted to heroin. Heroin's a serious drug. College students use Adderall, they use meth, they use anything. If I was doing meth, I'd be cleaning the house now. Yeah, but it affects people differently on different days. You think this was planned for years? I don't at all. I don't believe this was planned for years. I think something triggered him. And it very well could have been meth. Yeah, there's a lot of people that don't know when someone's on meth. Not even close to addictive as the pharma opioids. That's not true. Heroin is physically addicting. I think killing has been a lifelong fantasy. See, I don't. I really don't. Miles, I agree, but I'm also very interested in serial killers, and I don't plan on killing anyone. I think something triggered him, and I think drugs very well may have been that catalyst. For him to have this much rage, he would have had to have been a long-time meth user. Maybe. I agree with that. I looked for meth hardcore because I went to treatment. See? Not if he was on heroin when he was in high school. I don't know, guys. Not crack. Crack is a is not a physical addiction. It's mental. But heroin is a physical addiction. So that's same as opioids. It can cause a form of schizophrenia. I believe that. See, I don't know. I disagree with you guys. I really think that this was not planned. I think he had a catalyst, which may have been drugs. I mean, I'm not saying for sure, but I'm saying maybe. The discussion of meth did not come up until after. Hold on.
Are adding Bobby Chacon right now, who has worked so many big cases and sophisticated cases, retired FBI agent, but very active on this analysis. It's good to have you, Bobby. I'm going to come to you in a second. But Cece, I want to start with you because Cece Moore is a genetic genealogist who has helped to develop the techniques that may be being used or almost certainly have to be by the authorities in this situation. So when we speak to their level of confidence, Cece, and forget about the sheriff saying we're absolutely, to have confidence, what must they think they know or what must they have done that would give them any degree of confidence to make an arrest in such a high-profile situation with so much scrutiny?
Because investigative genetic genealogy is merely a tip, they would have had to perform a full investigation, including collecting DNA directly from Brian and comparing it to their evidence, their genetic profile that is admissible in court, which is that CODIS profile. And they would have had to get that one-to-one match. You can't use investigative genetic genealogy as the basis of a warrant for arrest. And so this is happening all over our country in dozens.
I have a question though. For those of Tony, I agree that he may have Asperger's. I thought of that too. But for those of you saying that he's not on drugs, based on what? Tell me what is based on that you don't think he's on drugs. Because based on what he's doing now and sleeping, it shows he is coming down from some kind of drug. So tell me why you believe he's not on drugs. What gives you that?
Hundreds of cases where we point them in the right direction using investigative genetic genealogy, but then they have to really look and say, is this person a true person of interest? Could their DNA have been at the crime scene for another reason? And so it's not the end all be all, just like DNA isn't the end all be all. But in order for them to have arrested him, they would have had to get that one-to-one match to that CODIS profile. That is what is evidence in court, not the genetic genealogy.
One quick follow-up, because since the last time we had this conversation, I may be in the mic.
Tommy's right. I forgot about that. The neighbor who lived downstairs from him said that he was up all night. He would vacuum at 3 o'clock in the morning. Sounded like he was cleaning his house at 3, 4 in the morning. So I go back to what I said is, yes, I believe he was on meth.
Minority of our audience that hasn't had like 100 drinks since then. So remind us, what is genetic genealogy and how does it work?
Genetic genealogy is using someone's DNA to learn more about their genetic history and family tree. In the context of law enforcement, we use it to identify violent criminals. So we can only use it for very violent crimes. And what we're trying to do is we're taking that DNA from the crime scene, from the unknown perpetrator, and trying to reverse engineer his family tree and eventually his identity by comparing him to about 2 million people in the GEDmatch and Family Tree DNA databases. What we get there is a list of people who share DNA with that unknown person. Now, we might get someone who shares 12% of their DNA, which would be fantastic because that's a first cousin. But most of the time, we're getting people who share only about 1% of their DNA, which is a third cousin. And so we have to build back on their trees. We're building those matches trees, the people who share DNA with that unknown suspect, trying to identify the ancestors that they share with that unknown person. Now, the only reason two people would share these significant stretches of DNA in their genome is if they inherited it from a common ancestor. And so my job as an investigative genetic genealogist is to identify these common ancestors. I'm looking for patterns, commonalities, overlaps. And ultimately, I need to find that one person that's related to all of those top matches. We may have hundreds or even thousands of matches that we get, but the majority of those are too distant. So we're working with maybe the top dozen or 2 dozen, trying to find how all those pieces fit together and lead us to this one immediate family.
Gotcha. Bobby, subject to any comments you have on the DNA, the car thing, do you believe that regular cops, not to belittle them, but not FBI guys in Indiana, stopped this car twice, once supposedly for speeding, the second time for following too close? Do you think that that was a setup, or do you think they just missed that this was a white Hyundai Elantra and just stopped these guys as regular traffic stops?
You know, it's hard to say. I know what Chris was alluding to earlier, the pretext stops. And if they had done that, and if it was done, it was probably directed by the FBI, because if the FBI is onto them, we don't want them knowing we're the FBI, and you can do a normal traffic stop. It's hard to tell at this point. But remember, that's thousands of miles away from where, you know, the Elantra was seen. So they, you know, it's quite possible halfway across the country, you know, not every person with a white Elantra was getting pulled over under suspicion. Florida, Georgia, you know, there's a lot of places, and it's far enough away, I think, that they could have had just a regular stop and not realize that this was the Elantra. It's possible.
Chris, I think it also
just to the point that Counsel Garrigo, go ahead, Cece.
Sorry, I was just going to say it's a ruse they've used in cases that I was involved in. And so I think it's possible it was a ruse to try to get Brian's DNA. But of course, that's just speculation.
Also, play the judge, Bobby, between me and Garrigus. What do you make of this person saying nothing and sleeping most of the time in custody? Is that just someone who understands the system and is doing the right thing to secure their own rights, or do you find it suspicious?
I don't find it suspicious. And you know, when someone is put in the system for the first time, it's really hard to make any kind of concrete conclusions about their behavior, because you know, people act differently. This is a very new environment for this person if they've never been locked up in this type of prison before, you know, and people act very differently when they're in something for the first time. So it's really hard to draw any concrete conclusions based on his behavior. If this was somebody that's been in and out of the system for a while and knows it and is more savvy being on the inside, then I would say maybe you can start making judgments.
Let me tell you something, though. The difference between the picture they just showed and the first picture is night and day. The one where he was thinner, the first one, was, to me, a meth-looking picture. The second one, he looks normal. This one, he looks normal. The first one was a completely meth-looking smile.
Judgments based on how he behaved in the past inside and how he's behaving now. But when somebody goes in, sometimes they're in complete...
That first one that they just showed, that's a meth fake smile.
Shock. Sometimes they're just so uncomfortable in this new environment, being in a cage, that they act differently, and it's really hard to draw conclusions on that.
Chris, can I add something to that?
Counsel Garrigus. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I've often said there's no playbook. There isn't a playbook. I mean, when you're charged with a horrific crime, and this is one of the more horrific crimes you can imagine, there just isn't a playbook for that and how somebody's supposed to act.
If they don't have DNA evidence, Mark, and he doesn't speak, how do they make this stick?
Look, they have to have for this level of confidence that they're expressing so far, before the probable cause has been unsealed, which will happen when he gets to Idaho, presumably, unless it's leaked before then. There's got to be, I agree with your other guests, there's got to be something else. This is not just DNA at the scene alone is not going to give these guys the kind of confidence level that they're talking about. There's all kinds of other explanations, presumably, and I'm sure that they know that. So there has to be something, and they've indicated they've been keeping this close to the vest. So let's wait and see if they do have something more.
CC, last word to you.
I was just going to say, from what we can tell, it looks like Brian was following the true crime community. And in that community, it is constantly stated that if you are arrested, you stay quiet. And so that, combined with his training in criminology and forensic science, I do think makes it more likely that he would stay quiet. I don't think it's that big of a surprise.
I get it. I'm just saying, even though I don't look like Garrigus, I've been doing that law job for a long time, and I'm just saying it's hard to stay cool when they knock on your door at 2 o'clock in the morning and say, hey, is your name Brian? We got you for a quadruple homicide. The idea that you're going to just start playing the game exactly the way you read in the books, it's a very intriguing situation. Let's leave it at that. CC Moore, Mark Garrigus, Bobby Chacon, thank you so much for lending your expertise to the audience. This is why I have better minds around me, because often I don't get it. Thank you each and all. Now, straight ahead, something I do get very, very well.
All right, a lot of you guys have wrong opinions or wrong, not opinions, nobody's opinion is wrong, but wrong conclusions about drug addicts and drugs. Okay, you see this picture? The one right on the screen? Do I look like a drug addict here? Would you know that I was on an 8-ball, that I snorted an 8-ball literally before this picture was taken? No joke. The absolute worst time of my life, my hardest drug use, was when this picture was taken. So anyone that thinks you can look at somebody and know what drugs they're on, you're wrong. You are 100% wrong. Because this was literally the worst time of my life. The worst. Thanks, Kate. Seriously, though. Nope, you couldn't tell. No, I mean, you can see, like, you could see how skinny I was. Like, you can see, I mean, that's my whole shoulder. I was really thin. You can see my bones here. But in my face-wise, you couldn't see it. I know people on meth that you wouldn't know it. You would never know it. Yeah, it was coke, not meth. But I'm saying that some people think that you can tell by looking at someone. You can't. You can't tell somebody's mental illness by looking at them. And a lot of narcissists, I was young. I was 28 or 29. Maybe younger. I don't know. I'm trying to think when I was in Vegas. Went to rehab. Yeah, it was after my wedding. So it had to be 29 or 30. Many narcissists do drugs. Many. I wasn't happy. I was dying inside. I mean, literally, this was the worst time of my life. But you wouldn't know it. I put on a good smile. And also, like, all psychopaths are narcissists. Not all narcissists are psychopaths. Overwhelming and heart attack normal. Not really. So I never really did heroin. You could see it in my eyes. They do. That was a fake smile. I was high as fuck in that picture. Yeah, they didn't have filters. There were no filters. My point is, you cannot look at somebody and know that they're high or not. You just can't. I was, Jerry. This was the worst time of my life. Absolute worst time of my life. But I put on that smile. I was skinny as fuck, though. I wish I was that skinny again. I think I was like 119, 120. I was so thin. Everyone said I was like yellowish. Thank you, Jerry. Point is, you can't look at somebody and know if they're high or not, or say that they're not on drugs because of how they look. Brad died on heroin from an overdose of heroin, and guess what? He was fat. He was the only person I know who did like a fucking ounce of meth a day and was still heavy. He still ate. You just never know. Boofing? What's boofing? He was already social anxious. No, yeah, but that can be caused by meth. I don't know why people are so thinking that he's not on meth. I absolutely think he's on meth. And I think that's what he's sleeping off. No, we can't say for sure he's coming off of meth. I'm just saying that it kind of fits everything I'm seeing about him being sleeping in jail, him staying up all night. Thank you, Gray. Yeah, I've been clean. I've been off of coke since 2008. All right, so I want to move over to the other interview. I'm going to start with this chick. All right. I'm going to start with this chick. This lady's an expert, and I couldn't disagree with her more.
As a law enforcement officer, I'd be talking about things from a law enforcement perspective. My life, I've served in ministry as a pastor. I'm going to talk about it from a spiritual perspective. Well, hey there, Dr. Lisa Metcalf. Thank you so much for joining us, and I can't wait to get your insight and thoughts about this case. Obviously, you've been a big fan of this show since, I think, a very, very long time, and so I'm curious to hear what you have to say about some of those personality types.
No, Nicole, I'm not saying I'm right. I'm saying that I believe that he was on meth, and these are my reasons. That is what I said. I have valid reasons for believing he is on meth. Nobody has given me valid reasons of why they believe he's not on meth. All I hear is he doesn't look like he's on meth. He wouldn't, but I have given solid, valid reasons of why he is on meth. I am still waiting for somebody to give me valid reasons he's not on meth.
Types that might be exhibited in Brian Koberger.
Sure. So, Tyler, oftentimes in today's society, people will focus on narcissistic personality disorder. And unfortunately, these terms are sometimes overused. So one of the things that's important in looking at the case of Brian is whether he has an underlying paranoia. And that paranoia, that restrictive social interaction, that avoidant type of personality is much more common in people who have kind of a schizo.
Okay, first, can anyone tell me where Brian seems paranoid? She's giving this assumption that Brian is paranoid. Please tell me where she feels Brian is paranoid. Like, what am I missing? Erratic, not paranoid.
Schizoidal personality. They are oftentimes seen as being kind of unusual, restricted. This is Selena Gomez, the cat, in their interaction. Hi, sweetheart. And I think as we look at him, one of the things I'm noticing coming out in the media now is questioning whether we have some sort of late onset of schizophrenia.
Yeah.
Traditionally, when schizophrenia comes out, it's around 19 to 21 years of age. And that would.
Hey, Tyler. No, I'm just saying I could not disagree with her more.
Be more likely characterized by hallucinations, command hallucinations. Now, sometimes those are commands in order to do harm to others, harm to yourself. I don't think that's what we're dealing with here. Another aspect that's come out in the media lately is the idea that perhaps at the age of 28, that he may have killed or hurt people significantly in the past. I would agree with your prior person who was on here, the detective, that there is really no way of knowing whether he has caused injury to any other person. I do believe that the concept that he became upset at the Mad Greek, that he felt that he was rejected, could have very well been the final straw. There have been some incidental comments from a number of people that perhaps at times some of the people in the household were a little bit unkind to.
Guys, be nice. Tyler's my friend.
Others, and may have made some offhand comments that were disturbing or dismissive. And in the right mindset, he very well could have taken those in a negative fashion. We often call people who have his type of characteristics Machiavellian.
Right.
They often are cynical about the world. They're paranoid. So they are much more easily slighted than you and I are. And if he has those obsessive compulsive personality disorder traits that I believe he has, he would kind of lock and load on that and ruminate over and over and develop a much larger story about what people's intentions were. And then he would give that energy, and in a moment of loneliness and isolation, he might in fact act out on it.
Well,
see, Scooby, that's my whole point. What is she basing this on? Where is she coming up with this? Because there's nothing out there that shows any of this. This is where I'm confused.
I love that you're talking about this because a couple of weeks ago, totally unrelated to this case, I saw an article, I believe it was in the New York Times, and it was talking about the dark triad. And I know that you kind of dismissed potential that Brian Koberger could have had narcissism, but they were saying that if an individual, for example, has these three things, Machiavellianism, which you just mentioned, psychopathy of some point on any bit of that sliding scale, and narcissism, when those three things overlap, that is really when they tip into this deep behavior, maybe possibly murdering. I don't know if you're familiar with the dark triad or if you think Brian Koberger could fit into this, or you think he's just in that Machiavellianism.
Certainly. And so if we really were to break down without boring everyone to tears, what we'd be looking at here is the psychopathology would be antisocial personality disorder traits, which come from what we call cluster B, which is the erratic, energizing personalities. Narcissism is also part of that. Just to clarify earlier, I don't think that's his prominent presentation. I think that he definitely has traits, at least at what we would call a style level. But I really think that the Machiavellian, that paranoid part, that cynical part, people are against me, nobody cares for me, that really with the obsessive.
Like, where does this come from? Where does he give the impression that no one cares for me? This is what I don't get. That I'm sitting here like, okay, is she out of her mind? I don't understand where she's getting this from. I think I've seen everything. I think I know everything. Not, like as far as the case and what he has said, So I'm like, I just don't get where she's getting this from. Oh no, Tyler, I think Tyler, his facial expressions are adorable. He's like a teddy bear. You just want to give him a hug.
Of compulsive traits is driving this forward and gave it a lot of energy. And I appreciate that you found that triad, because it's not commonly seen, but when it does exist, it can lead to a great degree of acting out with really no concern over being caught. That's the other.
Machiavellia doesn't fit what we know based on his friends. Narcissism does. No, meth fits everything. Everything. Not just one thing. Meth fits everything. That doesn't mean he's on meth. And welcome back, Angela. It doesn't mean he's on meth. I'm just saying that it does fit.
Component. I don't believe that he had great concern over getting caught, or he simply would have ditched the car earlier.
That's true. That's a good point.
And
I had been operating from a working theory that there was the potential he wanted to get caught so that he could exonerate himself. And I don't know if that would be in his twisted mind, the ability that he thinks he can manipulate to do such thing.
I think that there's a great potential that that would be the case. He would almost be the PhD in criminal justice who found a way to solve his own crime, and he got to be the star of his own show. So I think that there's a lot of credibility to that idea.
See, and my question in that is, if that's the case, then wouldn't he have spoken already? Wouldn't he have said something already? Wouldn't he have, to me, if that was his personality, he wouldn't be so quiet right now. If that was his personality, there would be so much more. And he's not saying anything. He's keeping quiet. So I don't think he has that ego that she's talking about. That's just my opinion. And I do have a degree in psychology. So I will say that. I have studied this on an educational level. But more importantly, I've also seen this on a personal level. In depth.
We really won't know until things unfold over time.
I think when Brian started using heroin, he was actually in high school. He was really overweight, and I'd been doing a deep dive on this. He was significantly overweight, had been turned down and made fun of by what appeared to be mainly other females, and then started using heroin, dramatic weight loss, very intelligent. And I didn't know, when your mind's developing at 15 years old, 16, 17 years old, and you would start to use such a severe drug, what the biological repercussions of that would be. And is that where we could see something like a schizophrenia popping up in him from some of those chemicals?
Certainly, you know, Tyler, one of the things that we see in people trying to maintain extremely low weight, we know this is the case with professional runway models, is they will smoke heroin. Oftentimes we talk about people injecting heroin. Well, you can smoke it too, in order to be able to have that significant appetite suppression. And one of the reasons why the drinking age from when I was young, it was 18, they raised it to 21, was all of the studies that came out in the late 1980s and during the 1990s about frontal lobe development and dopamine chemical feedback loops in the brain. Mm-hmm. And certainly it would dwarf his full development from a hypothetical perspective.
Yeah. Help us to get in the mind of Brian Kohberger. He's a PhD student sitting around in a classroom full of other PhD candidates as they're breaking down and talking about 10 miles down the road at the University of Idaho, 4 innocent students were murdered. What was going on in his mind at that time?
Certainly. Well, from a chemical perspective, the feedback loops for things such as dopamine are the same, whether you're scared in a horror movie, whether you're about to be the victim of a crime, or whether you're on a roller coaster at Disney World. It's the same chemical response. So there would be an excitatory response that he would have. At the same time, him knowing the answer, if in fact he is the guilty party, him knowing the answer, him knowing the details, I believe he would have a sense of self-righteous delight in being able to figure out, well, who was getting it right and who wasn't. And this may sound kind of corny, but it almost could become kind of a game show atmosphere for him privately in his mind. Who's on the winning side and who's on the losing side? And he holds the special key. He's the one who holds the grand prize in knowing exactly what happened.
Now, two of his classmates came out and did interviews. One of them wanted to remain anonymous, so we don't know which classmate it was, but the reports were right after the murders, he was really excited, had more energy than previously. And then 2 weeks in or so, his energy level completely dropped. He was totally exhausted. And of course, this isn't something that they recognized until after the fact. And so it almost was like there was a high full of energy right after this took place, and then a paranoia afterwards. If somebody is sort of at the centerpiece of this dark triad full of Machiavellianism sort of traits, is there a part of it that would lead to really, really high energy, sort of that feedback loop that you're talking about, and then a setback on paranoia as they're retracing their steps?
Certainly. And again, if we consider that he likely has strong obsessive compulsive personality disorder traits, then he would ruminate and think about every single detail over and over. But I think that for him, looking at exactly what happened, losing track of the order with which things happened. You know, for instance, if we watch a crime occurring in a local 7-Eleven, you go to question the witnesses, and each of them is describing a person who's this height, that height, red shirt, blue shirt, etc. So he actually could have been compromised in terms of his memory and trying to go back and remember every detail. That, to me, from a neurological, biological perspective, would explain about that 2-week lag. So he had that high of dopamine, and then when he started obsessing about the details that weren't adding up in the minds of his audience, which was his classmates, which was the media, then he would start to second guess. And that's where the paranoia would start to get root, and that would be very physically and emotionally exhausting.
Oh, I would say big time. Yeah, I would say absolutely big time. We are getting some questions coming in. Vinny is saying, and I don't know necessarily it's a question, but I want to share it with you too through a super chat. Says, I don't understand how people can already speak about him being guilty when we know nothing. Now saying he did not do this horrific crime, but you have to have, he says, they said now, let me say, not saying he didn't do this crime, but you have to have facts. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, I'm sort of relying on the law enforcement having multiple DNA markers that's led them to a probable cause in a court somewhere with a jury, grand jury or something, saying, yeah, well, let's grant an arrest warrant for this.
Well, as some of the other individuals have already discussed, in order to have probable cause for an arrest, it has to be significantly more likely than not. But it does not have to have a great deal of sticking power. However, at the point in time that he returns to Idaho, my guess is his assigned defense counsel will move towards the preliminary hearing happening as soon as possible. At that preliminary hearing, there has to be enough evidence to suggest that we should believe that the crime happened. And I certainly understand his concern over people assuming that Brian is guilty. But even in our discussion today, we are making the assumption that there is a potentiality that he has committed this crime. And our hypotheses come from that.
That's exactly right. It's a great way to say that. Exactly right. He was arrested. He was charged. And they have significant DNA markers they haven't told us about. The vehicle wasn't an exact match, but it's close enough in my estimation of what took place. I found it interesting. He went all the way back to Pennsylvania. Curious on what you think that trip with his dad would have been like. Is he letting the Selena Gomez cat out of the bag, which, by the way, your cat's now famous?
Yes. Well, I think if we look at it, it's about 2,500 miles. And I'm actually an East Coast native from right outside of Washington, D.C. And I think when father and son were on those travels, this is the only son. There's two daughters. One is a school counselor. One of them is a counseling intern in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, respectively. And so I think it was simply father and son having an across-country trip together. He flew out there. He came back in the car. My thought is that it was very intellectual, because if we look at what we know of Brian so far, he really enjoyed having the rest of the story, and he enjoyed being able to be that A++ student. It was the highlight of his life to have that form of superiority, and really that pride that he had earned quite a bit as a stellar student. I assume that's what the nature of their conversations were about.
Oh, I would think so. I read that his dad was a custodian. Did you see that too?
I did not. My thought was that he was in the HVAC business, air conditioning and heating. I believe his mother is a paraeducator in the school system.
Okay, yeah. So I saw a report that said that it was someone that was friends with him in high school, and said both his parents worked at the school. I think his dad was a custodian, but he probably did HVAC work, that kind of stuff, and then maybe flopped back and forth from working at the school to maybe in an HVAC business, kind of the similar work. And yeah, he also was saying his mom was a paraeducator in the school, so that lines up in a way. So very interesting. What are some things about Bryan Kohberger that we don't know that likely we want answered or need to be answered?
Certainly. I believe one of the things to take a look at is what was his involvement with young women over time. I do believe that one of the neighbors near his apartment complex had commented that he had seen a woman get out of a car after perhaps class or whatnot. She went off to her apartment and he went off to his. And then there was another occasion when one of the neighbors had heard Brian and a woman having conversations in the apartment. So it seemed that he, in the short 3-4 months that he was a resident there, had young women or had women be in his company. I would want to know more about that, because I think that anchors the whole rejection hypothesis that many people are putting forward right now.
Oh, that's really good. That's a really good thought. Yeah. One of the things that I'm interested in just unpacking is if he had a particular target, for example, Kaylee Gonsalves, and if what that was rooted in, or if he just wanted to do a mass murder. And I don't know the answer to that. I was so certain that Kaylee Gonsalves was targeted based on the information that was shared by Brian Inton, that she had suffered more horrific wounds than the others. Have you thought about that? Was it one person being targeted? It certainly, when that information came out.
All right. I've been quiet because I was looking up meth statistics in college. 23 to 28-year-olds have a much higher drug use in college than 18 to 23-year-olds. I can't really find too much on meth as much as Adderall or other stimulants, but it's number 3 to alcohol, pot, and then stimulants. I was going to say something about this, and now I forgot. Let me back that up a second. Oh, Tyler, if you're still here, that's not true. The coroner confirmed that they don't know where they got that from, but that's not true. They didn't have, she didn't have worse injuries. Oh, wait, though. Hold on. Oh, no, forget it. I'm wrong.
Their target, for example, Kaylee Gonsalves, and if what that was rooted in, or if he just wanted to do a mass murder. And I don't know the answer to that. I was so certain that Kaylee Gonzalez was targeted based on the information that was shared by Brian Inton that she had suffered more horrific wounds than the others. Have you thought about that? Was it one person being targeted? It certainly, when that information came out, there was a lot of people who were speculating that her ex-boyfriend was possibly the one who did it, because that was sort of like the line of thinking. And I just didn't ever think that personally, but several people were talking about that. I don't know. I don't know how to answer the question that I just asked, but I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Certainly. So first, on the topic of Jack, I think one of the things that's difficult in our country is many times people will get an idea and they run with it very quickly. And I felt, in looking at the photographs of him and Kaylee throughout their 5-year relationship, that he really was too thin, and perhaps, for lack of a better term, too frail to really have been able to deal with all 4 parties in the rather vicious manner that he did, particularly Ethan, because if you look at the picture of him with Zaina, he looks like he's a pretty tall kid. Yeah. And in the short sleeve shirts, he looked like he was pretty physically fit. And I think to sustain 4 individuals receiving those types of injuries that we've been led to believe have occurred, he'd have to have been, a larger person, and he's apparently 6 feet tall. As far as the issue over Kaylee's injuries, it really depends on what the meaning of more severe injuries is. It simply could be that she was the one who fought back. It could be that she is the one who woke up, and that she was the first person that he struck. So you would anticipate seeing more severe injuries, because he would be using more force, because he wouldn't be exhausted. He would still have that adrenaline rush going on, and he would have a slight level of fear, because at that point, he wouldn't have made very much noise that others could have been awoken to.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's really good. Did you see the report that I put on the screen? I'll put it up, just the headline again, if you're interested in seeing it. That report that was essentially saying his behavior currently inside of that jail cell. They've said that Idaho, multiple people from Idaho have said it's not a state where insanity is even an option. And he would know that. He's a criminal justice major. And you'd have to be insane at the time of the crime, not insane after you've been arrested anyway.
Tyler, I took one look at this and knew it was completely fake. I am very, very surprised that your expert, the guy you had on, did not know this was fake from first look. This was not his personality at all. Someone posted this. I absolutely knew this was phony. And that's why I could not believe your expert before, Phil Waters, yes, actually answered this instead of saying, no, this doesn't make sense at all. It's weird to me. And I'm interested to see what she's going to say, because I couldn't believe the expert thought this was real. It blew my mind.
But they're saying, in jail, he's saying, you come in here and I'll cut you, talking to the guards. He's taunting the guards, exposing himself, singing violent rap lyrics. So I'd love your thoughts on that.
Well, it's a manner of getting attention, I think, primarily, and taunting others. And at the core of that, if we think about perhaps obsessive compulsive personality disorder, certainly the triad that you brought up earlier, we anticipate him needing to control each and every situation he is in. He wants to control, very much like—
She's wrong too. I don't understand how these people can look at that and think it's real. These people are supposed to be experts. I am not an expert. I took one look at that and said it was fake. I was like, this did not happen. This is not who we're dealing with. And these experts can't determine fact from fiction is fucking mind-blowing. That's when I can't take them seriously. I just can't. But Tyler, I never even analyzed it. I literally took one look at it and said, this is bullshit. Because everything we know about him, that's not his personality. And these are experts that are supposed to be able to read people. I didn't even, I looked at the headline. I said, this is fake as fuck.
Like, I want to say Darnell Brooks. My husband and I watched that whole trial. He was taunting the judge. It was a rather ridiculous exercise day after day that Brooks showed. And this is kind of the same sort of thing. Being in control, making others kind of miserable who are in your presence.
It sounds like that's exactly what he's doing. Well, Dr. Lisa Metcalf, you're so amazing. We've only talked through email and chat, and I can't believe I finally got the privilege of talking to you in person like this. And I hope you come back on more often, because not only were you a star, but so was Selena Gomez, the cat.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Have a great evening. Oh, wait. I wanted to ask you one more question.
Yes, certainly.
And then we'll say bye. Is it acceptable to use the word evil?
Well, I believe it is, because in our world, everything is in opposition. We have light, we have dark, we have positive charges, whether electricity or on a cellular electrolyte level in our body, and we have negative charges. I think there's got to be evil if there's going to be good in the world. And it doesn't mean that he isn't the product of biological effects that have impacted his brain. Certainly the drug use, as you mentioned earlier, perhaps some environmental sorts of things that have happened to him, whether it was teasing, as we talked about before. But realistically, people have been teased and taunted in school. Certainly I had my own fair share of that. And we don't grow up to not only murder one person, but to murder 4 people in what appears to have been a planned out, premeditated action. So I think it's perfectly acceptable.
I do too. Now there's...
See, and here's where I disagree too. This goes back to the beginning. We don't know he's guilty. As of right now, he is innocent. He is innocent until a jury of 12 say he's guilty. Plain and simple. And all these quote unquote experts that are making him guilty already are blowing my mind. If you believe in the system, then you have to give a presumption of innocence until they're no longer innocent. His family to stand behind him, damn right. Damn right his family is going to stand behind him. He is innocent as of right now. Now, I could be wrong. I mean, I personally believe that he's guilty. That's a personal feeling. I think he did it. And I only say that based on what the cops are too cocky. They got to have something. But they may not. They may not. They may not have anything solid. That's why they're opening it up to, we need more info on Brian. We need to get a lot of info on Brian, because they don't have anything on Brian. If it was so rock solid on DNA, why did they need info on Brian? Like, seriously, why would they need info on Brian? If it's so rock solid on DNA, they wouldn't. They don't have it. It's not that rock solid. So they gotta have not a rock solid case, or they wouldn't be asking for info on him. Tons of info. Now, again, on a personal level, do I think he probably did it? Yeah. Do I think they probably have the right guy? Yeah. I'm not going to lie about that. But he's got to be innocent, or we don't believe in the system. We can't have every creator on YouTube and TikTok making this guy guilty already. That's not fair. That's not our system. That's not how our system works. And that is why over 20,000 innocent people are sitting in prison. In my personal opinion, and many of you will disagree with me, but I kind of think Scott Peterson is innocent. And he got tried in a public opinion. And circumstantial bullshit evidence put him behind bars for the rest of his life. He never even got a fair trial. This guy, if you want to believe in the system, he still deserves a fair trial. He still gets a fair trial. And I'm just saying that if they believe that he is, if DNA was that solid, then they don't need to put anything together. I mean, yeah, you need family and friends and stuff, but if going back to what I said in the last live, I get the hiccups now. Going back to what I said in the last live is that they're being a little too cocky about everything. And they're being a little too cocky about they have the right guy. Do they know that there wasn't a driver? Do they know what the motive is? Do they know why he did this? That it's going to be such a rock solid conclusion? Absolutely not. They're still asking for way too much stuff to have this being the right person. Possibly. I like where I paused it on Tyler. That's the hug me face. No, I enjoy Tyler's interviews. That's why I replay it. But you know what I'm saying? No, it's I don't know. I just feel like, what if he's not it? Or what if he didn't do it alone? What if the evidence come out and it makes it look like he didn't do it alone? How do they know there's only one person? Is there video of him doing it? Oh, there's a ton of reasonable doubt. Tons. And even if he did do it, which again, I do believe he did, but isn't that wrong of me to say that I believe he did it when I haven't seen one iota of evidence? There's no evidence yet. Grace, he's sitting in jail. And honestly, when it comes to Peterson, I don't know if he's guilty or innocent. I just know that he did not get a fair trial. That's all I'm saying. And he never got a fair trial. Every single person in this United States deserves a fair trial. And if you can't get a fair trial, just think, what if that was you? That's all I'm saying. Yeah, we don't know what they have. You're 100% right, Mickey. That's what I'm saying, though. It was enough to charge him doesn't mean there's enough to convict him. Exactly. What if he didn't, or not so much what if he didn't do it? What if he didn't do it alone? What if there were other things? Like they said he wasn't involved in the dog incident. I think he was. I do. I kind of think that he was involved in the dog incident. I think that was his first kill. So a lot of YouTuber has 50 more or more subs that they have to use words like allegedly impossible. Exactly, Court. The worst scum in the earth deserves a fair trial. They can arrest more people, but they're pigeonholed right now. They're absolutely pigeonholed. He could have just been the driver. It could, even 5 subs doesn't even have. But I've seen the you know, I've seen 300,000 subs that already have this guy guilty. I've seen someone with 1 million subs have this guy guilty. He's not guilty yet. You know, are the news reporters going to contact BTK and find out if he spoke to them? I do too, Swandega. I absolutely think that was his first. Because how do you fillet the dog? With a knife. DNA evidence can't be disputed, but it can be planted. DNA is like a fingerprint. Everyone's got one. But it can be altered. It can be, contaminated. You know, what we know as in what we know logically isn't always what can be proven in a court of law. And that's kind of what I'm trying to say. And he drove it 2015, not a 2013. But not tons of blood. But there was tons of blood, Tony. It was seeping out of the walls. You could have... See, I don't know. I kind of think that the dog thing, and again, it's just my opinion, but I kind of think the dog thing was like, how well are the cops? Do the cops make a big deal out of it? Do the cops make are they going to come running? Are they going to be, like how everything operates? That's why I kind of thought maybe he's involved with the dog. Kind of like a test. Trying to tie him, I don't think it did. Well, Mickey, that's why I believe that he did do it. On a personal note, I believe he did it. But I couldn't prove it in a court of law. That's what I'm saying. And, another thing that I've been thinking about, and especially when Tyler and this girl were talking, that, we could sit here and have opinions and say what we want and say what we think. But it's different when you have to prove it. It's different when you actually have to then prove it. And proving something and having an opinion are two different things. And a lot of people are saying he wasn't like this, or he wasn't like that, or he wasn't like this. But in actuality, he didn't fit into any mold. There was no mold that he fits in. And I said this a couple of days ago, he is going to go down in the history books. Why? Not because he killed 4 people, because he doesn't fit any kind of mold. He doesn't fit a mass murderer. He doesn't in totality. He doesn't fit a mass murderer in totality. He definitely doesn't fit a serial killer in any capacity. He doesn't fit a drug addict. He doesn't even fit a former drug addict. He doesn't fit a PhD candidate. He doesn't fit an honor student. He doesn't fit a teacher. There's nothing he fits, which is going to help him in a court of law. And that's what people are forgetting. Someone asked me earlier, do I think that he's been planning this for years? No. If he's been planning this at all, it can only be since he went to Washington. Do I believe he went to Washington State because he was stalking them? No, not even close. So I believe he may have run into them within 2-3 months at max. Or they could have just been a target of a week. We don't know. Rapid arrest? See, someone else said autism, that he may have had Asperger's. I kind of think that too. I think he was a cross between like an Asperger psychopath, if that makes sense. This last semester, exactly, Daniel. With it, he only went there in August. That's what I'm saying. Asperger's and psychopathy. Kaylee wasn't there the week before. Yeah, but we don't know if he was targeting Kaylee. That was another rumor that started, that he was targeted. We have no idea if he was targeting Kaylee. Digital friend we have today. I'm shocked too. Yeah, that's what everyone's saying so fast. I don't think he's so fast. What does Asperger's have to do with anything? No, it doesn't. But the way they're explaining his personality, it kind of sounds like maybe Asperger's. Nope, we have not seen the evidence yet. I don't think he's as special as you're making him out to be. He's not that smart. He was caught in under 60 days. True, but that's also why I think it was a first kill. I think he may have been sloppy because it was a first kill. But we don't know who the target is. I don't think it was Kaylee either. But I don't know. I honestly don't know. But he definitely does not fit in a mold like anyone else. Thank you, hippie soul. He has the feel as the guy, son of Sam murders. Nah, he was crazy. Sam Berkowitz, he was crazy. He's not crazy. He just doesn't fit into any type of mold. Allegedly, Daniel. But they don't, I don't think they have to release it. I think it becomes public knowledge, maybe. But that's what the experts are saying. Like experts, I mean, like news reporters are saying that that once he gets to Idaho, then the record becomes public. But I don't think the cops have to release it. I've never been convicted. Oh, you mean convinced? The KG, me neither. For first kill, 4 people seems more of a thrill if it is him. See, I really do think this was his first kill. Because if you've studied serial killers in the past, they change with each kill and they don't make the same mistake that they made on the first one or the second one. That's why I do think this was his first. It was sloppy, and it was sloppy according to the police. So if it was sloppy according to the police, then this probably was his first. Why he took out all 4 could have been a rage. We don't know. But the cops don't know that either. If the cops don't have a motive, they're not going to have much of a case. And without him admitting anything, they were saying, who said it? See, big ups, you're falling into the trap that I am staying away from. The cops never said that. That is a rumor put out by somebody. The cops have not released that info. The only real info that anyone should be quoting is from Fry Guy. Chief Fry, that's his name, right? The Fry Guy. And not French fries. But the cops never said that he was using Snapchat to stalk her. That was made up by someone. Just dealing lots of... I'm sorry, Southern Gal. They took a ton of stuff. Yes, they did. Traveled last several years besides his hometown. Why, Pecan? Exactly, Honey Badger. Threw away all those years of school. That's why I don't think this was intentional. I don't think this was planned out for years or anything. Nah, he may be a sociopath. But sociopaths usually aren't teachers. You don't have to prove motive in court. Some states you do. What I think they meant by sloppy, Joseph, and this is just my opinion, but what I think they meant by sloppy is they knew who it was pretty quickly. I mean, they really did. They didn't admit it, but the way they ruled out everything, they knew who it was. They knew who they were looking for. Maybe his DNA is on the bodies. I don't know. No, he was more, oh yeah, he was a teacher's assistant. And as a matter of fact, hold on, Tyler has that too. He has that kid, which someone told me to look up. I just never did. And then I saw Tyler had it. I was like, woohoo. Yeah, they had him instantly. Okay, not in Idaho. You don't have to prove motive. Okay.
Had a little thought like last week. For some reason, it's taken me a year to get to this point where it's like, why don't you find guests like several days of the week to come on your show? And so I'm going to start trying to get different guests from a variety of expertise to start coming on our show quite a bit so that we can.
Tyler, good luck with that. I have tried that. Good luck. If you get good ones, let me know and I'll start again.
Not just have my perspective, but have perspectives of professionals in the case. So 100% I'm going to start doing that. I also want to know what questions you guys have remaining in this case. If there's things that you're thinking about that we need to talk about, if there's thoughts about Brian Koberger that you feel like we need to investigate, let me know. I want to deep dive it with you.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. I mean, I was, just like sleeping here on the couch in my parents' house, and I woke up to all these tweets that were like, oh, they got the guy. And of course, this has been something that everyone in Pullman has been following, everyone in the whole Pullman, Moscow area. And so
Super chat. Wait, I just got a super chat. Hold on, wait. Somebody just hit me with a super chat. Who is that? You didn't have to do that. Use a big dog supporter and you prove that. There's plenty other ways to help. Subscribe through chat, but use a boss and I conclude that. Super chat.
Thank you, Southern Gal.
I look on my phone and I see the guy's name and I see the picture. And I'm thinking that looks a lot like my TA who's also named Brian, but that would be crazy. And so I went and I checked my email, to see the emails I'd had with him and the name matched and everything. And yeah, it was just like totally jarring, totally shocking to realize that this person that had been, kind of grading my papers was, allegedly this like horrible murderer. Entirely. All our interactions came in the form of the class and not even like, office hours. Like it was all within the confines of a lecture hall. He was pretty strict.
I don't know why the person that interviewed this kid, why you can't hear their questions or why they put it out like this. I found this weird about whoever did the original interview did that. Like, why can't we hear the questions you asked them? It was weird.
As far as grading goes, when he came into class, he was very.
One thing I was wondering, he was a strict grader. Is that sort of this desire to maintain control over his students? Strict grader. I don't like having strict graders personally. The thing that really bothers me when people grade you on your formatting based on whatever, like in theology or seminary, we use Turabian style. I'm like, I hate Turabian style, but MLA or all of that. I'm wondering when they grade really strict on that. It's just like, I don't know. But anyways, he's saying he's a strict grader. So very curious to think, is he just trying to maintain control? And I think it's probably possible. Hey, Twin Mommy, thank you so much for that super sticker. Really appreciate that. Takes us to 8. We're trying to get to 30 on our super sticker train if anybody else wants to hop aboard.
Not super mentally present. He would stand up at the front, look at the ground. He had a lot of like boilerplate responses he would give people rather than, maybe something he had thought up on the spot. It seemed like he would be, he'd come in knowing what he was going to say to like most interactions. And then when he would grade your papers, he would be grading you on what he ended up calling like a higher standard. But it really felt like to us was he was grading us like he would have graded himself as a PhD student.
He called it a higher standard.
And And so that was just kind of like, you know, we were all annoyed by him. And so I knew his name, you know, I knew like, oh, T.A. Bryan, like he sucks at this. Like he's grading us too harshly. And that was like an annoyance. But obviously beyond that, we just thought he was a little weird and kind of, you know, a bad grader.
We obviously can't hear the questions.
Yeah. He actually only left me good comments, which is just kind of silly. Like the only ones I could send in were nice ones, but for most people, he was being pretty harsh in the comments.
Nicole, that is such a false statement. People, lots of people that like to be in control do drugs.
I just, for whatever reason, he was being pretty good to me.
No, he was being interviewed by a
yeah, actually,
real
we
reporter.
had, our professor was big on the idea that, like, you know, if we're all going to be attorneys someday, then we have to know how to argue our case. And so he scheduled a day where everyone, you know, came in ready to argue to get their grades up, you know, and he brought in Brian and he was like, all right, go at him. And he had Brian stand up.
I interview all the time without headphones. So that is like a really dumb statement.
And everyone was, you know, like a few people were on his side because they wanted to keep their high grades and not like have questions be cut out or whatever. But for the most part, it was like, you know, half of a 150-person class just asking him all these real critical questions and he would answer. And he'd actually, he tried pretty hard to defend himself, which was the kind of thing that our professor loved. He wanted the like courtroom environment. And so, so there was just a period of class where we were all sort of arguing about this. Not, I mean, it wasn't like yelling or anything, but it was certainly conflict, you know?
It's interesting that they're wanting a courtroom environment. They're trying to get them to be able to argue their points or perspectives on things. But I was always thinking of criminology or criminal justice as more of a science than something that's debatable. But I guess there's different perspectives on everything. Hey, Brandon Scott, you said Happy New Year's to the Feller fan. May the Lord fill your year with love and joy. Well, absolutely. Happy New Year to you. Hope you're doing well. It's good to see you. Hey, Museum Americana, thank you for that super sticker. What an amazing blessing. Ellen Roberts, really appreciate that. That takes us, by the way, to 11 on our super sticker train. We're working hard to get to 30 as a New Year's super train. First super sticker train of the year. What an amazing blessing. Some of you guys are hopping aboard. Bam. It's just our membership program. Joining that, you get access to premium content. Also, you get access to,
like, you pretty much, if you turned something in, you were getting high marks, and he stopped leaving notes. It was just, you know, he seemed preoccupied is what I would have said at the time. And now obviously he seems like he was probably pretty preoccupied, but it was, yeah, it was much easier. You turn in whatever you wanted pretty much. And he was just grading them up and sending them back. Like,
thank you, Kim, for that super sticker. Really appreciate that.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. He probably, that I saw, he was always a little bit spotty on whether or not he'd come to class because he had, you know, whatever PhD stuff over the top of it. But the couple times that he did come after or around that time period, I remember him, you know, he had like a little bit more facial hair, just like stubble, but definitely less like well kept than he was. And he was a little quieter. You know, he didn't, he used to stand up at the start of class and like talk about some stuff sometimes. And this time he didn't really do that at all. He was definitely, I think, like the previous like mental preoccupation that we had been noticing where it was like, you know, he didn't really want to be there. That was at like an all-time high. And he just, you know, didn't look like he was doing great.
I thought that to be really interesting. Now, Brian Enton also came out with another interview today, which I wanted to unpack with you guys today. It's the daughter of the BTK killer having a possible link to Brian Koberger.
All right. So I've been looking up DNA. As we know, DNA is like 99% accurate. However, if proper procedures were not followed, DNA evidence will not be admissible. DNA evidence is not automatically a sure thing when used against you. The number of methods and tactics do exist to plant that kernel of reasonable doubt into the minds of at least some of the jurors when it comes to DNA evidence. In criminal cases, the prosecution must overcome any reasonable doubt of guilt to secure a conviction. The ones we will discuss are just a few capable defense attorney can use on your behalf. Here's a good question. Without looking it up, does anyone know what DNA stands for? Without looking it up. Anyone? Besides Scooby-Doo, she probably does. I don't know what it stands for.
Deoxynucleic acid.
Thanks, Phoenix.
Ribonucleic acid.
Thanks, Phoenix. Yeah, I didn't know either, Swan. I had no idea. Even hearing it, I did not know that. Deoxynucleic acid. I know. Look at my smart kiddo. He comes running in.
Like, wow, man. Deoribonucleic acid.
That's crazy, though. As many times as I've heard DNA, I had no idea what it stood for. That's funny. Deoxyribo. Yeah, I would, being that the last word is acid, I absolutely would not have, I did not know that. That's crazy, though. He is. He just put in his application. I am a proud mama. He got his Harvard app in yesterday or the other day. I can't even say it, let alone spell it. So they're talking about how to defend yourself. Here, let me move it over here. It has been said that any technology, if it is sufficiently advanced enough for those seeing it, will appear to be magic. DNA evidence is a good example of how it's going to happen. Most people cannot even say what DNA stands for, not to mention how it works. Prosecutors count on this seemingly magical complexity to awe jurors into a mind-numbing sense that is infallible. Good defense attorney knows that his first challenge strip away this illusion, and that begins with educating the jury so that there's no longer mentally intimidated by the science. The use of expert witnesses and a careful approach to explaining how human errors can make even the most advanced technology unreliable, but the effort is worth it if at least one juror can start to think critically instead of reflexivity about the possibilities. Planting a seed of reasonable doubt doesn't require attacking the technology as much as revealing possible mistakes made by those who are relying on it. A single slip made in handling the biological sample from which the DNA was taken, chain of custody, can open the door to doubt. That's what I'm saying. All you have to do is prove one. Just one. A good attorney. If that's all they have, done. Though DNA evidence is not automatically a sure thing when used against you, you should not underestimate its potential to sway a jury. Because this need for attention to detail throughout trial, you should choose defense lawyers who are already knowledgeable about DNA evidence and experienced in representing clients against whom it has been used. I don't know, Anita. I kind of think it is. Unless they have actual video of him doing it. Austin Rains, you, I that's what they said, that he was wearing gloves. The FBI was following him wearing gloves, but it was the coldest week of the year. So I don't give that much credibility. This dude get up. Well, we don't know what he had. I'm basing this on if all they have is DNA evidence. That's what I'm saying. If that's all they have. Yeah, video coming or going into the house and DNA. Exactly. And blood. See him walk across the field at the celebration. Who? Where did he walk across the field, or what celebration? DNA does better in cold weather. Does it? I don't know much about DNA. No, it wasn't. They drove up on December 16th. Cold didn't come into... No, it was cold like 2 weeks prior. Any good lawyer will challenge how they found him. They had the wrong car. Who's showing the video, Honey Badger? I'll look. Who's showing the video? Joy, I totally agree with that. Touch or transfer DNA will differ from crime scene DNA evidence. Who's CDT? Oh, Idaho does make you prove motive in court, but they had the wrong year. Which you would think, okay, so they had a couple, a few years off. Normally, you could say, okay, it's no big deal, but that's going to hurt him in court. I don't watch Crime Circus. I don't care for him. Do you want the lawyer you know? Another good one, check out. He's easy on the eyes. He's a little obnoxious, but I have watched him. CDT News. Let me take a look. Hold on. Who has a good video, Heather? Sincerely, Katie, where did you get that from? Is that a guess? The year of fun. Well, that's why some people saying it's a ruse. The lawyer you know, is that? No, maybe. I forgot. He absolutely can use that in his defense. Daniel. See, I don't care for Crime Circus. How is about the black and white lawyer you know? Hold on. Let me take a look. Whoop. I don't need my own stream. What is this? Oh, I haven't seen this yet. I don't think you guys have either.
The one who's responsible for these crimes. We are still continuing to investigate, and certainly we're looking into all aspects, but he has been named as our suspect, and we believe he is the one that is responsible. We got word directly after the press conference yesterday that we had already received 400 calls into the tip line after we made that request. So the outpouring of information from the public was immediate.
Oh, that's old. I thought it was new. All right. So what'd you say is CDT News? All right. Talking about the public defender. We got that. Do you know a timestamp? Reddit profile was removed. All right, we got that already. Okay, can I just tell you guys? This is ridiculous. This is what they're basing. This guy's the same as this person. It's not even the same year. You can't tell. This guy looks like 1,000 profiles. 1,000. To say that this is the same person, he looks like fucking Obama here. I mean, I see an Obama profile on the side. He really does. He kind of reminds me of Obama. This picture is way too blurry. There's absolutely zero way to conclude that this is him. I'm serious. Tell me he doesn't look like Obama. Thank you, No Way. He really did. That's not him. Look how skinny his arm is. Well, you know what, though? You brought up a good point. Look how low the ears are. That might be right, though. Look how low the ears are, though. This might be him. Now that someone brought up the ears. Look how high his ears are. And look how low his ears are. No, for real, though. Look at the ears. Those ears look pretty low. I think this is a female. I don't even think this is a guy. No one has the same ears either. Those ears are pretty low. But I don't think that's a girl. I mean, I don't think that's a guy. I think it's a girl. I do. I think that's a girl. That's a girl, not a guy. Yeah, look at that walk. That's a girl. Look. Watch that walk. See, here his ears don't look that low. Right? Doesn't it look like Obama? It really does. That's because told you he's gay. No, that's a girl. That was a female honey badger. That was an absolute female. But look, his ear, the bottom of his ear is at the top of his cheekbone. The bottom of this ear is really low. It's not him. Hey, Southern Gal. Thank you. Dude on the right. Yeah, it's definitely not the same person. Exactly, Court. How much you want to bet on that, Badger? I don't think it's him. This is a female. This is not a male. This is a female. Look at that strut. That's a female. I don't think it's him at all. Yep. No, I don't believe it's him. That is a strut. I mean, granted, I haven't seen him walk yet, but that is a strut. You know, there's a lot of gender confusion going on. Or it's a gay male, but it's definitely not him. No, it's definitely not him. He did. He had a strut. And if this dude can take out 4 people at once, thank you, Green-Eyed. If this person takes out 4 people at once, I'm shocked as fuck. But I don't think so. This was definitely not. No, there's no way. It's a manager. Okay, it's a Metro man. I'll give you that. Metro. But no, I don't believe that's him. That's a strut. That is a gay strut. But no offense, that woman. All right, so you guys think it's a guy. I say it's a gay guy. Yeah, I don't believe that's him at all. No way. His mother would know if it is. Gay guy, maybe not a girl. Yeah, I don't think that's him at all. But I want to show you guys this. Hold on. Okay. Let me find the right one. All right, this one's not so bad. Hold on. Oh. Come on, he looks like Obama. I see Obama. Look at that. I don't know. It just reminds me of Obama when I look at it. He looks like Obama. I did prove it. But I tell you though, Obama has way more pictures of his other side than he does looking to the left. It must be his right side that he's better on. He does. It reminds me of Obama. I don't know. It's the first person I thought of when I looked at that. But I can't find like the exact one. Why don't one of us call him at the jail? I do want to ask him questions. I don't know. He just reminded me of Obama. Like, that was like what I thought of. But this is, yeah, you can't tell. It's not an exact Obama. Exactly. This kid is mugshot and wedding pic. Obama's the killer. You got it. Obama did it. I owe you guys a song, so hold on.
Super chat. Wait, I just got a super chat. Hold on. Wait. Somebody just hit me with a super chat. Who was that? You didn't have to do that. You's a big dog supporter and you prove that. There's plenty other ways to help subscribe, view, chat. But you's a boss and I conclude that. Super chat. Who was that? You didn't have to do that. You's a big dog supporter and you prove that. There's plenty other ways to help subscribe, view, chat. But you a boss and I conclude that. Thank you for the money. It goes a long way. It helps me run the channel, so you get all my thanks. Spot me lunch to get me through the day. I appreciate the love, and I hope I can repay you for the super chat.
That was for Green Eyed P and for Southern Gal. Thank you. I'm telling you, it's a great song. I have to break it up so you guys don't always hear the beginning at the same time. He tries to talk like Obama. Is there anyone else celebration of life that looks like BCK? Yeah, but why would he even be there? He doesn't go to school. Thank you, Irish Gal. I'll wait till I get another one before I play it again. Because I just played it. Does anyone compare Brian to the Black Masked Ring Cam? What Black Masked Ring Cam? Irish Gal, if I don't get another one within like 10 minutes, I will play it for you. But there's no way to like pause it and play it like in the middle. There's no way to do that. So I always have to start it from the beginning, which is why I got to break it up. Oh, no song? Okay. How could you not like his super song? I don't know. I'm not saying it's not him, but I don't think it is. I just don't. I can't see him taking out 4 people. I just can't. Not that guy walking across. I just don't see it. I don't see it happening. Like, hold on. All right. Hey, look. Okay, here you go. Here's to prove it's not him. He's got way much more. He's got way more hair. That dude that was walking across didn't have any hair. Brian's got a full head of hair, and has a low hairline. So people saying he has the same hairline, not even close. His hairline is all the way up front. Because you can tell. He's got a full head of hair. This person does not. This person is losing hair. Yeah, but he's got a bald spot. He's got a high hairline. You can see it. Same thing in the other one. He's a high hairline with low hair. He's got a full hair. He's not losing any hair. No matter who did it, can you imagine how sick you would have to be to enjoy spraying blood? Yeah, it's definitely not him. Okay, it's not a female. I'll give you that. I don't know. I don't think it's him. And he's not that skinny. His neck is not as long. Well, can you tell that though? This guy's got a short neck. Yeah, this guy's hairline is receded. Brian's is not. His hairline isn't receded. See? He doesn't have a receding hairline. Even here, he doesn't have a receding hairline. Here his hair's shorter. He doesn't have a receding hairline. A former teacher at high school said that he was a good kid and never been in major trouble. She taught him in 11th and 12th grade. He was passionate about criminal justice. He was just a regular 12th grader, had a few friends, was a good student. I thought he would become a police officer or correctional officer. You know, she's getting subpoenaed. I didn't say he was cute. He liked to watch movies about police and asked me the next day if I'd seen it. It was more of a hobby for him. He was always asking questions. She says feeling sick. She's going to get subpoenaed. He liked school, got good grades. Okay, so hold on. Let's look at this for a second. So a former teacher in 11th and 12th grade. Okay, keep this in mind. 11th and 12th grade. Said he was a good kid, never been in trouble, passionate about criminal justice. He was a regular 12th grader, had a few friends, was a good student. Does anyone see the where I'm going with this? No, not the mental illness, but does anyone hear what I'm saying here? I'm going to say this again. 11th and 12th grade. Anyone know where I'm going? Anyone? Dang, ding, 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 ding. Amanda got it. So how is he doing heroin? Exactly, Coffee. How is he doing? How is he running around looking for heroin then? Oh, the defense will absolutely use that teacher. But the girl said that this is when he was on heroin. So either the girl's lying or he was that good of a front, 11th and 12th grade. So when was he doing this heroin? I don't know. Or he could do heroin and nobody knew it. Or he was that good. That's what I'm saying, Honey Badger. Either she's full of shit or he was that good. Their H claims the girl made date back 2017. His friend said after 11th grade over the summer and into senior year. And this teacher's saying no. No, Nicole, you're missing it. Yeah, I'm saying that who do you believe? The TikToker or do you believe the teacher? Or was he that good that he could be on heroin and this teacher didn't even know it? That's what I'm saying. No, Jay Lord, she's right. Most heroin addicts are not, killing 4 people with a knife. I believe the teacher too. But I'm saying that's interesting though. He could have been that good. Or the girl may have been lying. He could have been. I'm not even going to try to guess. But I think it's interesting that the teacher is totally saying the opposite of that other girl. Teacher's saying he had friends. He was normal. Okay, my friend did H. Took me a while to figure out. Good grades and drugs in high school don't generally go. It depends. People in college do use drugs. Absolutely. But she says he liked school, got good grades, did well at Votech, had friends, and had a plan to go to school for criminal justice. He had his life in order. Teacher could be oblivious. But I think it's interesting, though, that she's trying to run this narrative about drugs and this teacher saying the exact opposite. Another classmate said, I remember he was quiet and shy. A lot of people made fun of him. I don't know if it was because he was quiet and shy or how heavy he was, but you could tell he was a smart, organized student, like all A's and really to the point. Later conceding they had no murder weapon, no motive, no suspect, and no clear reason why the victims were killed so brutally. I don't know. Drug rage? Okay. So I guess he's going to have a public defender. It says he'll be under the same order once he returns to Idaho. Hey, it could be. Former friends Daily Beast that Collinger's high school years were marked by a drastic weight loss, as well as cruel bullying and a deep interest in police, movies, and criminology. Meanwhile, his parents battled financial issues, filing for bankruptcy the year he was born, and again when he was 14. On the second occasion, they surrendered their house and car, faced $206,000 in debt, and having $512 in the bank. Hey, it sounds like me. was down to earth and overweight when they graduated junior high. But at start of senior year, he was thinner than a rail and turned aggressive. He'd also picked up a new hobby, taking boxing classes. He also wanted to fight somebody. He was bullying people. We started cutting him off from our friend group because he was 100% a different person. And I had no idea what might have contributed to that change. I still say drugs. Thank you, Kaz. Glock said he and Kohlberger would spend half the day at Pleasant. I don't know. I don't think he was on heroin. I think he was on meth. I don't care what anyone says. I think he had 6 years of meth use. And I'm sticking with it. All right, Irish Gal, now you get it because of Kaz.
Super chat. Wait, I just got a super chat. Hold on. Wait. Somebody just hit me with a super chat. Who was that? You didn't have to do that. You's a big dog supporter and you prove that. There's plenty other ways to help subscribe, view, chat. But you's a boss and I conclude that. Super chat. Who was that? You didn't have to do that. You's a big dog supporter and you prove that. There's plenty other ways to help subscribe, view, chat. But you a boss and I conclude that. Thank you for the money. It goes a long.
Thank you. No, he didn't blow all the family money. They said that he was, they filed for bankruptcy when he was born and when he was 14. He never touched since high school, though. He got a great job and moved up the ladder fast. Whew. I agree, Southern Gal. I don't know. I think his senior year, he got into meth. And I don't think he ever got off of it. Just my opinion. Who would point out his friends' flaws and insecurities to distract from his own struggles with his weight. He would go after my intelligence. He would basically insinuate that I'm kind of slow-witted and that I'm forgetful and that I lack the intelligence to be his friend. That's narcissism. Ron said he cut off his relationship because of the incest and bullying. Main's work, a mother, substitute teacher, generally kind people. Said Kohlberger told her after graduating that he entered rehab. She ran into him. He seemed like his life was picking up. Apparently it wasn't. I never thought he would do something like that, but at the same time, it doesn't surprise me. People that do meth a bit, not everyone. Not everyone loses their teeth. And sometimes it takes years. And it also depends how much you do. Now, they say his parents were generally nice people. DNA evidence found at the murder scene was a crucial factor in tracking down Kohlberger, who was found holed up at his parents' home. The genetic material found at the home into a public database, which turned up potential family matches, helping police to, but this, See, this right here is not rock solid. By the time he was in college, Coburger struggled with drugs, telling a classmate in Northampton that he had a heroin addiction. A classmate who did not want to be named. Show those. Oh, it's in an MSN article. Thank you, Burden of Proof. But that's what I'm saying, though. This is not rock solid evidence. They fed the genetic material found at the home into a database, which turned up potential family matches. That only people found guilty can be exonerated. I think that can come at any point. I think so. The teeth would have lasted many years. I only needed implants in the back. All my other teeth were fine. Yeah, I know meth heads that still have teeth. I know some that don't. Biscuits also mounted a nationwide search for vital launchers spotted near the victim's house around the time of the murders. Compiled list of 22,000 possible matches. Finally narrowing it down to Kohlberger's vehicle. Physical knowledge based on Locard's exchange principles states that whenever two objects come into contact with one another, an exchange of materials occurs between them. This may lead to a connection between a suspect and a crime scene or a suspect and a victim based on transferred fragments of materials. Overall, the article concludes that during the years examined, a variety of scientific tools alone or in combination have demonstrated potential for improving the field of trace evidence examination. This is new, but this is like a whole nother live. So Locard's exchange principle. So that must have been when he cut himself. Non-invasive hair examination after use. That's a whole nother live. Oh God, implants are like 10,000 a piece, or like, I don't know, legally, like legit. I think they're like 5,000 or 6,000 a piece. Did he wear gloves, a tie suit? What was he doing to not get caught? Was he covering his hair? I forgot about hair. Did he wear booties? Yeah, those are all my questions. Oh yeah, they're expensive. Maybe someone saw him with a knife at some point. I agree with Steve, though. I'd want to look him in the eye, too. But I'm telling you, I honestly don't think he's ever going to confess to anything. Who's Jeremy Renner? Who's Jeremy Renner? Thank you. Who is Jeremy Renner? I don't know. He made TMZ. Yep. He's a well-known Hollywood star for playing Hawkeye in the MCU movies. I have no idea who that is. Yeah, I don't know who that is. Who interviewed at first Jeremy? Huh? That's painful. Oh, it's not a video? He was plowing the road about a quarter mile from his Tahoe home, and he ran over his own leg. I don't even know how that's possible. Need to watch. Oh, Marvel movies. That's why. I don't know Marvel movies. Oh, didn't he play oh, what's that name? The red guy. Not Spider-Man. The funny one. You know what I'm talking about? Oh my God, who's that guy? What's that movie? What is that movie I'm thinking of? There were 3 of them. No, Deadpool. Thank you, Danny. Deadpool. Isn't that the guy that plays Deadpool? Who is the lead of Deadpool? Oh, no, Ryan Reynolds. Yeah, no, it's Ryan Reynolds. For some reason, I thought it was him. They need another Deadpool movie. It's been a while. All right, guys, I've been on almost 3 hours. I am off. I got to make some labels and pack up some candles to be sent and wax melts to be sent tomorrow. Your husband, Ryan Reynolds. He's funny, though. He really is. Well, poor Jeremy guy. Buffalo Bills guy, isn't. Oh, there's somebody else that I keep hearing about that I don't know who he is. Andrew. Who's Andrew Tate? I keep getting highlights about him. Who is he? What did he do? All right, here we go. Who is Andrew Tate? What did he do? Influencer dubbed King of Toxic Masculinity, arrested in Romania. He was thrown off Big Brother when a video surfaced in which he appeared to be hitting a woman with a belt and shouting abuse at her. Now I know who Andrew Tate is. He's worth $355 million. Damn. Good night, Joseph. I don't know, but he's worth a hell of a lot of money. He's a whiny internet huckster. Oh, he and more of that. Oh, he got busted for trafficking? No shit. Former professional kickboxer is known for his viral rants online and male dominance, female submission, and wealth. I guess when you were at $355 million, kind of easy. Deadpool 3 will come out in 2024. Oh my God, that's like forever. Detained in Romania over rape. Oh yeah, part of human trafficking and rape investigation. That's crazy. He gave an update from jail.
Clickbait, but apparently I saw this one video made by someone who claims that Andrew Tate had a phone call from a jail, apparently, you know, and I'm gonna show you the clip, and honestly, I'm gonna be real with you. These clips could be edited from like a podcast that he talks about the Matrix or whatever, but they sound kind of legit. So yeah, I want to give you this little disclaimer. I don't want to clickbait too hard, you know, because I'm really all about the truth. And yeah, if you want to follow the news around Andrew Tate, be sure to leave a like and subscribe with the notifications. But yeah, here's the apparent phone call.
They martyred us and they proved us completely and utterly right. They proved us right. Now no one can come along and say we're incorrect anymore. They can maybe able to come along and say, well, we're on platforms, that's fine, but we're certainly and utterly correct. And in the long run, God rewards those who live with the true heart and speak the truth.
Now, it sounds legit, and it doesn't really sound like anything I've heard before.
Okay, so people say like my voice is annoying. That guy has 164,000 subscribers with that voice. Please tell me where I'm going wrong. Thank you, Austin. Please tell me where I'm going wrong here. Dude's got 164,000 subscribers, and it's not the two guys that they're showing. It's just the guy that was talking. Oh, I'll never figure out YouTube. I swear. All right, but I am going to bed now. I will see you all later. I will see you all tomorrow. Thank you guys for a super chat. And that's it. I'll see you all tomorrow. Have a wonderful night. Have a wonderful day. Peace.